stream on? Okay, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to part one of the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee meeting. The City of Kitchener has aligned with provincial changes to COVID-19 restrictions, and City Hall is now open for in-person services, but appointments are still being encouraged. The City remains committed to safety of our patrons and staff and continues to facilitate electronic meeting participation for members of the public. Those people interested in participating in future meetings can register to participate electronically or in person by completing the online delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. For those who are interested in accessing the meeting live stream video, it is available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. So we have one consent item today. Can I get someone to move it? Councillor Ioannidis, any questions? No? All those in favor? Opposed? And that passes. This now takes us directly into the public meeting, the public hearing matters under the Planning Act, and this is a formal public meeting to consider applications under the Planning Act. If a person or a public body does not make oral or written submissions to the City of Kitchener before the proposed applications are considered, the person or public body may not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal. So the first item is regarding a zoning bylaw amendment to 82 Wilson Ave, 84 Wilson Ave, and yeah. Go ahead. Oh. Sorry.
I think because we have a delegate, that maybe we should go with that one first.
Yes. Okay.
If that's okay?
Yes. Okay, so, yeah, now I'm all thrown off. Are you talking about a different item, are you not? Carry on the way we're going? Yeah, okay, sorry about that. So the first item has to do with this zoning bylaw amendment to this property at 82 Wilson Ave, 84 Wilson Ave, and 214 4th Street. We'll start off with a 5-minute presentation from Eric Schneider, and who will be in attendance for any questions after the from the committee. And I'll also point out that Garrett Stevenson is in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, Mayor, and members of Council. My name is Eric Schneider, and I'm a senior planner at the City. I'm here tonight to make a recommendation for approval of a zoning bylaw amendment to facilitate a 48-unit affordable housing development. As I move to the next slide, I'll discuss the site context of the overall neighborhood. The subject lands are located at the corner of Wilson Ave and 4th Ave in the Vanier neighborhood. 82 Wilson Ave is part of a larger campus that also includes 84 Wilson and 210 4th Ave and is used for affordable housing by the region of Waterloo. The lands directly abut the Kingsdale Community Center and surrounding woodlot. On the next slide, I'll discuss the proposed concept. The site is proposed to be developed with a 6-story building containing 48 affordable rental units. This will add to the existing affordable housing campus for an overall total of 155 units. The site contains existing surface parking, and a parking area reconfiguration and additional parking spaces are proposed to accommodate this development. As we move to the next slide, I will speak briefly about the current opportunity with this application. The opportunity to create 48 affordable dwelling units. These units are intended for seniors and are programmed at rent geared to income, or RGI. The opportunity to increase density on the existing site, which is slated for medium rise and medium density development. And the opportunity to increase the available affordable housing units in the region by 32 affordable housing units. Moving now to the next slide, I'll summarize the details of the zoning bylaw amendment request. To permit a maximum building height of 25 meters, to establish a front yard setback between 10 and 15 meters, to establish a parking rate of 0.5 spaces per dwelling unit, and to permit parking within the exterior side yard. In summary, the application represents good planning principles and is consistent with provincial, regional, and the city's planning policies. The next slide contains the proposed zoning map showing the subject lands as Area 1. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Ioannidis, can we wait till after the delegation? Okay, thank you. So we have our first delegation is Ms. Kirsten Barrisdale from GSP Group. She will be coming in electronically. Welcome. Whenever you're ready.
I had a brief presentation. I'm hoping that can be pulled up. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Chapman and members of the committee. My name is Kristen Barrisdale from GSP Group. GSP Group, along with LGA Architects, who are the principal architects and designers, are working on behalf of the region of Waterloo with respect to the proposed development application before you this afternoon. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'll keep my presentation very brief as Mr. Schneider touched on a number of things. What you see in front of you right now is the existing site. It is actually 3 separate buildings with 3 separate properties. You'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen, it's the existing residence at 210 4th Street. It currently contains an existing 2-building structure that is intended to be retained or will remain on the site. On the north end of the site, you'll see 84 Wilson Ave, which is a 6-story structure, and again, that is intended to remain on the property. And on the south end of the site, you'll see 82 Wilson, which was formerly occupied by a 2-story building that contains 16 affordable housing units. All of the proposed parking for the site is accommodated internally with driveway access both off 4th Street and off Wilson Ave. Next slide, please. The proposed development includes the demolition of the existing 2-story building on 82 Wilson, which currently has 16 units, and replacing it with a new 6-story building for a total of 48 affordable housing units. As you can see on this concept, the dark gray buildings are the existing buildings at 84 Wilson and 210 Wilson, which again are intended to remain. The proposed new development, 6-story, 48 dwelling unit, is at the lower left-hand portion of the site. The new building will contain a 1st floor entrance that you see with the larger arrow kind of mid-site. The first floor will contain administration area, storage area, office area for Region of Waterloo, the housing provision administration, and the first floor will also contain office space for lease for a future community provider or community benefits provider, as well as a small commercial kitchen. Next slide, please. What this depicts to you right now is the landscape plan that's been submitted to the city. So you can see that there is an enhanced amenity outdoor space that's provided at the front of the building between Wilson Ave and the building facade. This area will include landscaping, hardscape features such as seating and meeting areas, and will also include community gardens. And then there is a small outdoor private amenity area that's provided to the left-hand side of the building. This will be associated with the future commercial space. It's going to be potentially leased to a community service group. Next slide, please. These are proposed renderings of the development. On the left-hand side, you'll see the building entrance. This is the proposed main entrance for all future residential habitants or occupants of the building. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see a rendering of the elevation as to what you would be seeing from Wilson Ave. Again, this will be portion of the ground floor will be dedicated as an office space, retail space, or sorry, excuse me, office leased space with direct access to the building from Wilson Ave. Next slide, please. I won't spend too much time on this. This is a summary of the proposed zoning regulations that we have requested. We are maintaining the low-rise residential designation. We are also maintaining the residential 6 zone and asking for a couple of site-specific provisions or regulations that reflect the proposed development. A maximum building height of 25 meters, whereas the current regulations have a building height of 10.5 meters. As Mr. Schneider touched on, a minimum setback along the front of 10 meters, a maximum setback of 15 meters. We have asked for a minimum parking requirement of 0.5 spaces per unit. This is to reflect the nature of the proposed development. As Mr. Schneider touched on, it is affordable housing that is rent geared towards seniors who generally have less car ownership and vehicle parking requirements on site. The proposed development has also been designed for each of the residential units to include scooter parking or parking for assisted walking devices. And then finally, we've asked for the elimination of the provision in the bylaw that currently does not allow for or restricts parking between the front of the building and the front yard. We've asked for this to reflect the existing conditions on the site. That concludes my presentation. Oh, sorry, I have one more slide. Next slide, please. Just a quick summary of where we are in the process. So an application for site plan approval was submitted to the city in May of 2022. And we are just working through some revisions to that concept in order to hopefully proceed to approval in principle. The building was demolished. The existing 2-story building was demolished on the site between May and July of this year. And building permit applications were submitted in August of this year to provide for the future redevelopment of the site in the 6-story building. As what's presented to you this evening, or excuse me, this afternoon, is a final recommendation regarding the zoning bylaw amendment. And as touched on, we are hoping to move to approval in principle and then final site plan approval. It is anticipated that the construction will start in spring of 2023 and will likely be about a 12 to an 18-month construction period. Next slide, please. Now that does conclude my presentation. There are members from the Region of Waterloo who are also participating or monitoring this call. So if there are any questions that come up with respect to management, provision of affordable housing units, etc., they can be available to speak to those.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any questions for Ms. Barrisdale? Yeah. You want it now? Okay. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Chair Chapman and Ms. Barrisdale. Thanks for coming in. Looks like a really great project. Just my one question would be, is this part of a one-stage process, or are we looking at maybe redeveloping the rest of the site, if that's possible?
Through you, Chair. This is part of the initiative that the Region of Waterloo has undertaken over the past few years to start to focus or identify sites across the region in which they can provide for further investment and opportunities to provide additional affordable housing. I cannot speak at this point as to what the long-term plans are for the balance of the site. There will be some improvements that happen to the surface facilities and walkways and stuff like that for the balance of the property, but at this point, it's my understanding that there are no immediate plans for redevelopment of the site. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that that will be in the medium or long term at that point. I'd be happy to circle back with the region to answer that question specifically in terms of what kind of affordable housing targets or additional units can be brought onto the market in the future.
Okay. That's good for me, and when the time's appropriate, I'm ready to move the recommendation.
Okay,
If
thank
Councillor
you.
Gazzola asks.
Thank you for your questions. Councillor Snyder, did you have questions for the delegate? Okay. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering on how you came up with that number and if there's a possibility of increasing the number of units on the site.
Through you, and I'm sorry, I'm just receiving information as I'm speaking to you from the region in terms of their affordable housing projects. It was determined through some preliminary design concepts with the region as to what would be appropriate to accommodate on the site, as well as some of the funding that they're seeking in terms of the provision of affordable housing units. This is part of the regional initiative that's happening, again, region-wide, that would be building 2,500 affordable housing units within the next 5 years to 2026. And that funding has been kind of delegated and distributed, if you will, evenly throughout the region to both new projects and existing projects. I think that the intent behind this proposed development was integrating a apartment building that would provide for further density on the site, but is consistent with what's on the site as well as what's surrounding the site in terms of height, massing, etc.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? I just had one question. You said that demolition took place in May and July of this year. What happened to those residents? Will they be given first right of return to the new units, or?
Yes, they will be. Those residents who were existing on the site have been relocated on a temporary basis. They will be given the first opportunity to secure a dwelling as part of the new affordable housing project before the region opens up the additional units to those on their list. The region has done quite an extensive consultation process as part of this proposed development beyond the minimum requirements under the Planning Act. They've had a number of informal sessions, both in person and digitally, with residents to keep them informed of what's going on and to provide them context and information in terms of who these affordable housing units will go to. I know there's been questions about whether or not people on the site can move from existing buildings toward these newer buildings, but the region has provided assurances for certain that those displaced residents will definitely be given the first opportunity for these new dwelling units.
Okay. That's good, thank you. My second question had to do with, you mentioned that you don't have a service provider yet. So what happens if you don't find a service provider? I mean, I assume you will, but what's the timing of that, and what do you have in place if that doesn't happen?
The region has actually been in consultation with a local service provider, and they are very close to establishing an agreement in terms of who's going to use that space. They are targeting a provider that would integrate and have synergies with affordable housing as well as affordable housing for seniors. But unfortunately, we're just not at the point that we can make those discussions public. Okay, thank you. I've got 3 other people here lined up in queue. Are any of them for questions to the delegate, or are they all comments? Comments? Okay, so we'll begin with Councillor Snyder. Thank you, Ms. Barrister. I think that's all we have for you now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You had a question? Okay, sorry.
I have a question of staff, not of the delegate.
Okay, yes,
Which I
so
thought
we
I
should
should
have questions of staff first.
Which I
you're
should
right.
do before you do the comments, right? Everybody's on comments.
Yeah, go ahead with your question, sorry.
A very simple question. Mr. Mr. Snyder, I just want to ask you, I'm surprised there weren't more comments from the neighborhood. It's not a popular project there because of incidents that have been in the past. But there were very few comments, so I trust the neighborhood had an opportunity. Now, there was one lengthy comment, and I just wanted to know would you have gotten back and discussed the issue with that particular person?
Thank you. Through the chair, yes, there was a low amount of written comments. I did email each of them back, and the ones with the longer comments I had phone conversations with as well.
Fine, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Councillor Davey?
Yes, thank you. I think I know the answer, but I just want to be sure, whenever there is development that the region is doing, I assume that they pay all the regular like development fees and everything else that any private sector developer would pay. Is that correct? Obviously, they wouldn't pay themselves for their portion of that, but they still would have to pay us.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, we do have some programs that they waive the application fees for our planning applications for affordable housing projects. I don't think this particular project took advantage of that, but in terms of costs that would come later in the development process, such as development charges and building permit fees, those must be paid.
Okay, and do you know offhand if they, sorry, I'm not sure if I understood before, but do you know offhand if they'd be able to take advantage of any of the more recent incentives that we approved in budget, or do you not know that offhand?
Through the chair, as this is pre-construction in the zoning bylaw amendment phase, anything that comes after this, they'll absolutely be open and available to those resources.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? Can I get a mover for this item? Councillor Anitis, you were moving it? You wanted to move the item? Okay. So we'll go to comments. Councillor Schneider, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This just looks like a great win-win. Some housing that's needed for seniors that's geared to income, increase of units on the property. There's a wonderful community center right beside it with walking distance, transit availability close by, some amenities close by, a nice park close by. So great work by all involved.
I see Ms. Barrisdale, you have your hand up. Did you want to go ahead? Did you have a question, a comment? Ms. Barrisdale, did you have a comment? Can she hear me? Okay, we'll go on with the next comment. Councillor Michaud?
Thank you. I'm just going to reiterate what Councillor Schneider had just said. This is a wonderful project. It's long overdue in that area. There's been seniors and affordable housing pieces, apartments living there for a number of years, and it is the perfect area for seniors. And I'm really pleased to see this. The only thing I wish is we could have more units there. I thought we would kind of go up, build up instead of out, and there might be still. I'm wondering why there isn't an opportunity to go a few stories higher there, and was that ever discussed? Sorry, that's a question. I'm asking the question now. I'm sorry, and I see that I know you said it wasn't, but I guess I'm just that's the only piece I'm disappointed in, that it isn't more units, because we certainly are in need of many more units. Sooner than 5 years. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Through the chair, the lands in total are designated in our official plan as medium density. There is an existing 6-story building on the site right now. This is to match that. take advantage of that and build an elevator between them so that the elevator can be used for the existing building at 84 Wilson. There's only one elevator in that building and there's challenges, so I think the 6-story aligning with the existing 6-story there was done for a reason. However, the existing building at 210 4th Ave is the largest building on site facing 4th Ave, and there would certainly be opportunity in the future to redevelop that portion as it's only 2 stories currently.
Thank you. Councillor Ioannidis, comments?
Thank you, Chair Chapman. First of all, I think this project, I'm really ecstatic about it because it looks like a tremendous, really great project. As some of my colleagues had mentioned, it's in a great location, and it services, what I can really appreciate is that the development really, it services really another hypersensitive need with servicing seniors. And I just want to thank the region. I think they've done a terrific job with this project and what I've seen at the rendering, and you can tell of late that they've really stepped up their weight in with affordable housing. And if we're ever going to want to tackle affordable housing, we all need to work together, and including the private sector. So I'm more than happy to support this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I think my comments were quite similar from my colleagues, and they have already said it best, that we have to take advantage and leverage on any opportunity that comes forward, such as this, where the business case makes sense for itself for the private sector to fill a very dire need in a community when it comes to affordable housing. And I think I'm glad some of my colleagues that asked the question about, well, why can't there be more? Because that's exactly what we should be asking, where there is opportunity for us to take advantage of existing infrastructure that costs a lot of money to put in, like a community center, Kingsdale. And the fact that there can be an affordable housing component in that neighborhood that can take extra access to those amenities, then even better for our community. And so those comments and those questions, I think, are more so not necessarily for the appellant for the application, but also for staff, for them to see that it doesn't necessarily need to, what's the zoning or what's specifically within the official plan. When there's an opportunity like this, have those questions, be very candid and say, hey, look, are you willing to expand the envelope? If you are, we can take it to council, right? We can't be resistant. So I'm quite supportive of the application. I'm quite supportive of the comments made, and hopefully the applicant, perhaps with the existing lands, will consider additional increase of housing options. Thank you.
Thank you. I just agree with everything else that's already been said, so I won't add to that. Can I have a vote on this? All those in favor of the staff recommendation? And that passes. Thank you. Okay, we have one discussion item today regarding the 2022 Artist in Residence appointment. First, we'll have a 5-minute presentation from Carolyn Varon, who's in attendance today, and then she'll help us answer any questions that we might have. Also in the room is Emily Robson, the Manager of Art and Creative Industries, for any comments that she'd like to make. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. Good afternoon, everybody. So after a short hiatus, I am really happy to introduce the new artist and proposal for the city's Artist in Residence program. And thank you for supporting this program for over now 25 years. As you may remember, and as you know, we celebrated the 25th anniversary, first through Bond Park podcast interviews with selected artists in 2021, and most recently through holding a retrospective exhibition of artworks by 19 past artists in residence. This exhibition is currently taking place at the Hummer Watson House and Gallery, and it runs till November 6th. Now for the 2022 residency, we are piloting a partnership with Textile Magazine, which will provide mentorship and additional opportunities for community engagement for the artist. Textile Magazine's broad community practice focus on engaging local artists from equity-deserving groups and experience in administering an effective mentorship program strengthens and broadens the delivery of the city's Artist in Residence program. Before introducing the selected artist, I would like to introduce Ms. Annabelle Girard. Now, Ms. Girard is a member of the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee and is cross-appointed to the Public Art Working Group, which serves as the selection committee for this program. She will speak to the selection process. Ms. Girard?
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Chapman and members of council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about the Artist in Residence program. I currently sit, as mentioned by Caroline, on the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee for the City of Kitchener, and I am the representative for the Committee on the Public Arts Working Group. Because of my background in cultural management, I am happy to be part of this group, which consists of practicing artists and professionals from the field of arts and culture. The process in which the artist in residence is selected is through the jury system, drawing on the expertise of the Public Arts Working Group. Each member receives the submissions and, through the criteria outlined on the city website, assesses viability of the applicant for the program. The criteria states that the applicant must be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, a regional artist or have connection to the Waterloo region, and demonstrate a commitment to their artistic practice. The proposals from the applicants are each weighed by the balance of development in their artistic practice, collaboration, and community engagement, have a clear path on how to adapt their proposed proposal to a virtual platform if required, their professionalism, their feasibility of the proposed plan submitted, and lastly, an inclusion of a community engagement strategy in their submission. The Public Art Working Group, individually and then as a team, assesses each applicant on the strength of their proposal and this criteria in mind. There were many applicants, and after much deliberation, the Public Art Working Group selected Bangashimo as the best candidate to represent this year's Artist in Residence for the City of Kitchener. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Through the chair, I'd like to introduce Bangishimo Johnson, if I may, just
Yes,
briefly.
please go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. So Bangishimo Johnson is a photographer, co-founder of Landback Camp. They also hold a social service work diploma from Lambton College, a Bachelor of Social Work honors degree from King's University College at Western University, a Master's of Social Work from Wilfrid Laurier University, and a photography diploma from Fanshawe College. I would like to invite them now to present, to talk about their artistic practice and present the proposal for the residency.
Thank you. Welcome.
Bonjour, Ani. Whew, this is loud. Bangishimo Nindijnakas Kuchiching Lundinjaba Makwato Dem. Good afternoon, Chair Chapman and committee members. It is an honor to be here. I had no idea this room existed. I know all of you folks, so yes, I'm Bangishimo. It is an honor to be here today as the next artist in residence for the City of Kitchener. And I just want to say thank you to the selection committee for picking me this year as the first Indigenous artist in residence for the city as well. I picked up the camera 8 years ago on my way to New Zealand a few days just before I was supposed to speak at a conference. And I decided that it was an opportunity to follow my dream and spend my tax return on a camera. And it was a good decision. I've been fortunate to have the support of the community behind me with the work that I've done. And I've been fortunate to have my work on display in numerous art spaces throughout the region. Most recently, Weewa has been on display downtown, which you might have seen, which was in partnership with KWEG and DTK BIA. That was up for 2 years. That was a piece that I created in partnership with the beadwork artist Donna Noah, the picture of Wiwa, which has been showcased in numerous spaces, is actually going up next week in downtown Toronto at the Canadian Tire Legacy Space as part of the Charlie Wenjack or Downey Fund, which is really a great opportunity to be a part of. And most recently, my On the Land exhibit, which has been exhibited 3 times within the past year and has gained quite a bit of media attention as it's been vandalized on numerous occasions, and the violence has been condemned by Mayor Jarowski and city councilors. I've been fortunate enough to win a number of awards because of my work and received a number of full spreads in numerous magazines and publications showcasing my photography. My focus is portraits. I use my photography as a tool to amplify the voices of Black, Indigenous, and racialized folks. My photography has allowed me to travel to 12 different countries as well, to taking photos of the Indigenous groups that I met along the way. This is, obviously, we all know who this is. This is Sky from Land Back Camp, our youngest member. This picture has been featured in numerous magazines and numerous art spaces throughout the region as well. And finally, my project that I'll be working on for the next year is titled The Medicines We Carry, which is a series of 8 to 10 portraits. I'll be working with Fitsum Argai from Textile Magazine, along with Brittany Baldwin, a local Mi'kmaq artist, who does wire work, beadwork, and a number of other pieces of work. So they will be my advisors and my guides on this project. The goal is to, as we talk about innovation and progression and moving forward, often the voices of Black and Indigenous folks get left behind. So my goal with this series is to place us in future tense and not past tense, to change that narrative, to challenge the narrative, right? That we have always been here and we are moving forward. So to do that, the pictures will talk about the narrative of our connection to land by the medicines that we carry. So I will be creating 6 to 8 pieces with Brittany, where people will be adorned in Indigenous plants and medicines. An example of one is we will be creating a snow princess out of birch bark, which is one example of one of the 8 pieces. My goal at the end of the year is to showcase all 8 portraits, and along with all 8 pieces that are showcased in the portraits as well. Over the 12 months, I also have a plan to engage with the community as well too. An example of that is next summer, I will be hosting a medicine walk with a local knowledge keeper. So we will be inviting the community to join us as we go out onto the land for the afternoon and listening to the stories from the knowledge keeper as they share with us different types of plants that people can utilize and their healing properties. Another example of a workshop that I will be hosting is with Brittany, hopefully at the KWEG, where we'll be hosting a wire workshop. We'll be showing the community some of the pieces that we're creating and actually inviting the community to come try their hand at some of the pieces that we're making as well too. So yeah, so again, it is an honor to be chosen to be here in front of you folks today, and I just want to say thank you for supporting my work over the last 8 years, and it's an honor to be the next artist in residence for the city of Kitchener. Miigwech.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to have you here and to have you as, as our artist in residence. I see some questions. I take it they're questions or comments? Councillor Schneider, go ahead.
First of all, congratulations. Getting here through the whole process is quite an accomplishment. I just wondering, after hearing everything and your plans, what you hope the impact will be on our community as your term of artist in residence.
Yeah, like I was saying, with the work that I've done, you know, we are always put in this position with our stories as martyrs, as victims, right? As that our only story is trauma, right? And I want to create a space where we can be placed in other genres, right? Such as fantasy, sci-fi, futurism, which is the goal of these 6 to 8 pictures, right? So the models, the participants in each of the pictures, all 8 of them will be Indigenous. And I hope that they inspire people, that to change that narrative that we are here, we are future, we are moving forward, we aren't going anywhere. And I hope that the exhibit will grow, that it moves beyond just 6 to 8 pictures, and that it gets to be featured in other cities as well, too.
Great. Well, I wish you all the best and much inspiration.
Thank you.
Councillor Michaud. Mayor, comment. Okay, go ahead, Christy, or Michaud, Councillor Michaud.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely remarkable. This is so exciting, and I particularly love the part of your presentation when you talk about, I might be putting words in your mouth here, but honoring the past but looking to the future. And it is just so exciting to see the plans that you have for amplifying the heritage of the Indigenous peoples and the work that's going to be done. So you should be very proud of yourself with this work and getting this far, and I can't wait to see where it's going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations, Bengishmo. It's going to be great to have you as part of this program, and to have you as our first Indigenous artist in residence, in resident rather. One of the things that I know we've also been looking at doing is looking to see how we can increase our programming during June and Indigenous History Month. And so do you think there may be some opportunities with this program to actually potentially do some stuff in particular during that month?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been speaking with Carolyn and Emily about places where we can actually showcase some of the work that we've done so far halfway through the project, and spaces, obviously city spaces that are available where we can showcase the work. And obviously that community engagement piece is, because that's what I do, is working with the community and creating spaces for the community to come together and learn. And you know, we're all in this together, obviously, with reconciliation. So, yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. It's great to have you on board for this, and
Thank you,
look forward to see the outcomes that come from the project. Thank you.
Miigwech.
Councillor Marsh?
Yeah, I just want to add to the comments of congratulations. I think it's a really exciting project, and I think it will be something that members of the community who are from Indigenous backgrounds can look to and say, hey, you know what, I have a future here too, and to add their pride. And so I really appreciate that. And kudos to the Public Art Working Group for recognizing that. It's about time that we have an Indigenous artist here as our artist in residence. So that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnston?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to say congratulations too. I love your pictures. Every time I look at them, they're so, I don't know if stark is the right word, because I don't know that it is, but it always makes me look twice. They're incredible. The what you capture in people is so different, I think, than what other photographers do. And that picture of Sky, I've seen that lots of times, and it's absolutely incredible. So congratulations, and I look forward to your work this year. And frankly, I'm thrilled that you're the artist in residence this year, and I'm surprised that you're the first Indigenous one, and that's disappointing. I'm looking forward to everything that you're going to be doing this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question.
Sure.
And I know this isn't your responsibility, but I wonder how you think your art might contribute to the whole truth and reconciliation process.
Oh man, that's a big question. You know, like colonialism, right, is it was a form of genocide. We weren't meant to be here right now, right? And so, in so many stories and so many places, I often feel that we get left behind, right? I traveled for a year because I didn't see us represented in the world of travel. So I sold everything that I had, my whole apartment, and lived out of a backpack for a year. I took pictures because I wanted to prove to people that we are here and that we can travel, that we can see the world, right? And that we can reach our goals, right? And then now I've been fortunate, grateful that I've now had this gift of being able to share other people's stories through my work, right? As a tool to amplify, like my current exhibit right now, that's at Conrad Grable until the end of the month, On the Land, is a series of 8 pictures. It started off as 4, and it's grown to 8 pictures because I keep adding to it. People can actually use the QR codes. And the question that I've asked every one of those participants is, what does it mean to you, or what has it meant to you to live on this territory, right? And each of them gives this beautiful answer from 2 to 3 minutes to 10 minutes, but each of them talking about their stories from being an immigrant to the stories of them being displaced on this land and what it means to them and how they're working with the Indigenous communities here in addressing reconciliation, right? So I feel that's one of the ways that I've been able to do that is by helping share other people's stories.
Right. And maybe it's not a fair question, but you did a very good job at responding. Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge the work that you did with youth, with Amy Smoke at Landback, which I think, ties in nicely to the work that you're doing now. So thank you for coming in, and congratulations.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So, are there any questions for staff? We've done comments. All those in favor of staff's recommendation? I'm sorry? Oh, can I get a mover? Councillor Johnston? Sorry. All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much. And I think that, we have some information items. There are 3 information items today that can be found in the agenda package. And so please follow up on those, and thank you for everyone here today. We're going to recess, and the planning meeting will reconvene at 6 p.m. as scheduled. And I will now pass the microphone over to the mayor for the special council meeting.
We will go into caucus, and we'll start in, people want a bio break? Maybe